AITA for calling an ambulance, which got my coworker fired. For starters, I, 27F, work in sales. If you've ever been in this field, you know it's not just about selling. It's about winning. Everything is a competition. Who can close the biggest deal? Who can meet their quota the fastest? Who gets the best clients? There's a lot of pressure, especially for someone like me who's relatively young in a company full of seasoned veterans. Most of my coworkers are in their 40s and 50s, and I'm one of the few younger people in the department. I've been here for a few years, and while I like my job, it's definitely a high-stress environment where every mistake feels magnified. So, this past weekend, the company hosted a mandatory team training event at a hotel. The whole thing was corporate to the core, PowerPoint presentations, buzzwords like synergy and value add, and long discussions about how to crush the next quarter's goals. It was exhausting, but the company footed the bill for the hotel and meals, so I figured I'd suck it up and get through it. After the day sessions wrapped up, a few coworkers and I decided to grab dinner at a restaurant nearby. It wasn't a wild night or anything, just a group of us trying to unwind after sitting in conference rooms all day. We carpooled to the restaurant, and when we arrived, we saw Deborah, 50s, already at the bar. Now, a little backstory on Deborah. She's been with the company for over 20 years and is good at what she does. Like scary good. She's one of those people who can sell ice to an Eskimo, as the saying goes. She's also fiercely competitive. Deborah isn't unkind, but she's definitely intimidating, especially to someone like me who's still trying to prove herself. When we saw her at the bar, she was already a few drinks in. We invited her to join us at the table, but she waved us off, saying she was fine where she was. Okay, fair enough. The rest of us had a nice dinner. I had 2 beers, nothing crazy, and we all kept the conversation light. But as we were finishing up and getting ready to leave, we noticed Deborah again. She'd clearly had a lot more to drink. She was stumbling as she walked and slurring her words. Honestly, it was uncomfortable to watch. A couple of people in our group exchanged awkward glances, but no one said anything. When we got outside, Deborah followed us into the parking lot and started rummaging through her purse. My stomach dropped when I realized she was looking for her car keys. I'm not one to get in people's business, but this was a clear-cut case where I couldn't stay quiet. Hey, Deborah, I said, trying to keep my tone light. Why don't I drive you back to the hotel? It's really not safe for you to drive right now. She looked at me for a second, and I could tell she was annoyed. But after a moment, she handed me her keys and said, fine, whatever. I thought the situation was under control, but as she walked around to the passenger side of the car, things took a turn. She tripped over absolutely nothing, just her own feet, and fell straight back onto the pavement. The sound of her head hitting the ground was sickening. It was like someone dropped a watermelon. I rushed over to her, and my heart sank. She was unconscious, and there was blood pooling around the back of her head. I froze for a moment, but then instinct kicked in, and I grabbed my phone to call 911. This is where things got messy. One of my co-workers, Matt, 30s, came up to me and said, "Don't call an ambulance. We'll just take her back to the hotel and put her in bed. She'll sleep it off." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Matt," I said, "she hit her head. She's bleeding. What if she cracked her skull? What if she has a concussion?" He rolled his eyes and said, "You're overreacting. She just needs to sleep it off." I was floored. I couldn't believe he was willing to gamble with someone's life like that just to avoid a little inconvenience. I turned to the rest of the group and said, "Does anyone here really think it's a good idea to just leave her like this?" A couple of the older employees backed me up, saying it was better to be safe than sorry. So I went ahead and called 911. The paramedics arrived quickly and took Deborah to the hospital. I rode with her because I didn't want her to be alone, and honestly, I was terrified she wouldn't wake up. The whole ride there, I kept thinking, what if she dies? What if I'm too late? Thankfully, she survived. She had a mild skull fracture and a concussion, and the doctor said it was a good thing she came in when she did. They said if she'd been left alone, things could have been much worse. The next day, I checked in on her at the hospital. She was awake, but groggy. She thanked me for calling the ambulance, but I could tell she was embarrassed. I tried to reassure her, saying, it's better to be safe than sorry. But here's where everything went downhill. Word got back to our managers about what happened. Deborah was technically at a work event when she got that drunk, and apparently, that's a major violation of company policy. They fired her on the spot. No warnings, no second chances, just gone. Now, the office is completely divided. The older employees are saying I did the right thing and that Deborah's firing was her own fault. They've told me, if you hadn't called, she could have died. You saved her life. But the younger employees? They're furious with me. Matt, in particular, has been openly hostile. He's told anyone who will listen that I got Deborah fired on purpose to eliminate her as competition. Others have said I should have just let her sleep it off, and that calling 911 was an overreaction. I didn't call the ambulance to get Deborah fired. I called because she was bleeding from her head. I didn't even think about her job at the time. I was just trying to make sure she was okay. Now I feel like I have a giant target on my back. People are whispering about me, and I'm paranoid that every mistake I make at work is being scrutinized. I know I did the right thing in the moment, but the backlash has been brutal. So, Reddit, AITA for calling an ambulance and ultimately getting Deborah fired?